Good afternoon, parents, and welcome to our Relationships and Sex Education presentation at Heathfield. This afternoon in the meeting, representing Heathfield, we have myself, Mrs. Atherton, and also Mrs. Richards is present, and she is going to help support me with any questions and queries that come up during the meeting. We have chosen to record the presentation this afternoon, and that is so that whilst the presentation is playing, if you have any questions, you can type them straight into the chat box and we can start preparing to answer those questions at the end of the presentation. So this afternoon you're going to be learning about why RSE is taught in schools, to understand the statutory guidelines relating to RSE, to see how we teach RSE in school, to know what we cover in RSE, and to see some of the resources that we use. The document shown on the right hand side of the slide is the Relationships Education and Health Education document that provides the statutory guidance for us as a school. It contains our legal duties within it. It came from the Secretary of State's statement, which is on the left hand side, which I'm going to read out to you, that explains why this subject has become statutory. So it's today's children and young people are growing up in an increasingly complex world and living their lives seamlessly on and offline. This presents many positive and exciting opportunities, but also challenges and risks. In this environment, children and young people need to know how to be safe and healthy and how to manage their academic, personal and social lives in a positive way. This is why we have made relationships education compulsory in all primary schools in England and relationships and sex education compulsory in all secondary schools, as well as making health education compulsory in all state-funded schools. So the rationale behind this subject is to enable young people to be able to have the knowledge and skills that they need to be able to live safe and healthy lives, both in and out of school. So how we teach RSE at PACT? Well, we teach our relationships education as part of our PSHE curriculum. That's our personal, social and health education curriculum. It's built upon the PSHE Association framework and the Birmingham RSE planning guidance, and is taught through three core areas. So we teach it through relationships, health and well-being, and living in the wider world. Even though our PSHE is taught for around about 40 minutes to an hour a week, it permeates everything that we do. We'll often be referring to elements of PSHE in other lessons, in the books that we read and in lots of other ways. So here's our first strand of the three strands that we teach, and this one is relationships. And you can see on the slide there is a list of the content that we will be teaching the children around the relationship strand. So for example, caring friendships, teaching children to recognise when a friendship is a good one, and things that caring friends might do, so that they start to know how to treat each other in class. That starts right from when they're little. Other examples, unkind or bullying behaviour, so teaching children to recognise what bullying means, and if someone is a bully, where children can seek support and get some help. For some of the older children, peer pressure is something that often becomes quite prevalent, them wanting to do things because other children are doing it. So getting them to understand that they need to make their own sensible choices and not just sort of follow what the crowd is doing. One of the things that we cover in our PSHE lessons is healthy relationships. So we teach about them so that children understand and recognise when they come across the features of relationships that are going to make them happy and feel secure. It also helps them to recognise any less positive relationships when they come across them, so they understand if they're not being treated well by another child in their class, by a sibling, by an adult. These are all things that we teach them to recognise when they come across them. We also teach children about having healthy relationships online. The lessons that we teach address online safety and how children should be behaving online and how they should expect to be treated online. All of these lessons are relevant to their daily lives. Children now are being taught their lessons remotely. Lots of them are on devices on a daily basis. We need them to know how to use those devices safely and appropriately, and what can happen if they don't do that. Their online footprint, for example, and things that they put online, things that they say, and not being able to take them back, and also who they communicate with online and what that means in terms of keeping them safe, how their information might be shared, for example. A family is where a child builds their first relationships and where they have their first experiences of the world. And all of the teaching about families that we do in the Trust is based on our knowledge of pupils and their backgrounds. There are many different types of families, and families of many forms provide a nurturing environment for children. For example, families might be single parent families, they might be a family with two mums or two dads, there might be a family where the grandparents are the main carers, or where children are adopted or looked after by foster parents or other types of carers. We take care to ensure that this is taught with sensitivity in our PSHE lessons. We also teach the children about developing their own character traits, such as a growth mindset, believing that they can achieve, perseverance and not giving up when things are tricky, working towards something, working towards a reward at the end of the day or the week, for example, and just continuing on with something despite a setback. We teach them the importance of respect, honesty, kindness, generosity, cooperation, empathy, compassion, and lots of other things. School has a responsibility to teach the children about safeguarding themselves, and we do this through teaching them how to recognise and report abuse, be that emotional, physical, or sexual abuse. We teach this through learning about boundaries and privacy so that the children understand they have rights over their own body. They are taught how to report concerns and how to get help. We teach the children to make sensible decisions to help keep themselves safe. The second strand that we teach the children is health and well-being. So the aim of teaching the children about physical and mental well-being is to give them the information they need to make good decisions, enabling them to recognise what is normal and what is an issue in terms of themselves and others, and to know how to seek help when they need it. By the end of primary school, the children will have been taught content on emotional and mental well-being, internet safety, physical health and fitness, healthy eating, the facts and risks associated with drugs, alcohol and tobacco, basic first aid, and the changing adolescent body through the Growth and Change programme. Some of these are taught through units, which we'll be looking at shortly. Some are taught through recognised dates in the calendar. For example, we look at Safer Internet Day as a special day in the calendar. Our Growth and Change programme is now established for years 4, 5 and 6. We started teaching the Growth and Change programme last year in the academic year 1920. This year, that programme has become statutory, and we started with the Year 5 children in September. When we come back to school in the spring, hopefully it will be Year 4 and then Year 6 in the summer term. all of the information on those units that are being taught are sent out to you before we teach them. The third strand of the curriculum that we teach the children is living in the wider world. So by the end of primary school, children will have been taught content on the different groups and communities they belong to, social responsibility and helping others, what we can do with money and making responsible decisions, careers and career paths, looking after the local and wider environment, and the impacts of the media and social media. This slide shows the long-term overview for our personal, social and health education curriculum. So you can see for each half term, the children have a different topic that they follow, and those topics either come under the relationship strand, the health and well-being strand, or the living in the wider world strand. And you can see that some of these topics follow on from each other, and you can see that they become more advanced as they go through. So for example, in year 1, autumn 1, the children learn about what makes a good friend, and they do that as the first unit that they do. And then in year 2, they learn about what is the same and different about us, so the uniqueness, what makes them them. And then the next unit that follows on from that is what is bullying. So they know how unique and special they are, and that everybody has their own special things about them. And then we learn about what bullying is, so that the children have an understanding of if someone does not appreciate what is special about them. They know what it means and they can identify that. In year 3, they learn about how to be a good friend. So all of those strands follow on from each other and progress. Another example is year 1, autumn 2, who is special to us. So the children look at the different people in their family and talk about how families are all different but share common features such as love and taking care of each other. When the children get to year 3, there's a unit called What a Family's Like. So this unit starts to talk about how families differ from one another, so different family structures. We then incorporate tolerance and understanding of different family structures and common features of family life, for example, celebrations or holidays. So the units build onto each other so that the children progress through the curriculum as they get older. The rest of the units, the ones we cover in years 4, 5 and 6, are now showing on the screen. And again, there is progression in these units. So we've got year 4, the unit shown in yellow, how do we treat each other with respect? We talk about rights and responsibilities. We talk about the rights to privacy. We talk about online behaviour, discrimination, racism, homophobia, gender discrimination, how children would respond to aggressive or inappropriate behaviour. This then moves on in year 5 to how can friends communicate safely. So how we can use the internet and social media positively, how knowing someone face to face differs from knowing them online, recognising risk in friendships and relationships, safe content online, safe sharing of information online. And when the children get to year 6, this becomes what will change as we become more independent, and how do friendships change as we grow, and looking at the different kinds of relationships that the children will have in their lives and helping them balance some of those when they get to secondary school. So thinking about what relationships are going to look like when they get to secondary school, thinking about healthy and unhealthy relationships, gang culture, knife crime. Sadly, all of these things need to be covered in our curriculum before the children go off to secondary school. We also look at living in the wider world. So we've got, for example, what decisions people can make with money, what can be done with money, what jobs we'd like, exploring the range of jobs, paid and both voluntary work, different ways into jobs and careers, how they might choose a career when they're older. And then in year 6, they look at how the media can influence people. So fake news, again, discrimination is covered, keeping yourself safe online, all of those sorts of things. There's really in-depth coverage of all of these sort of life skills within this curriculum. We use books an awful lot across our curriculum in lots of different subject areas, and PSHE is no exception. On the screen now you can see some examples of the resources that we would use in our lessons. So for example, we've got Ruby's Worry by Tom Percival. So this is a book where a little girl has something that she's worried about, and it follows her around and gets bigger and bigger because she doesn't tell anyone about her worry. And we use this text to get children to recognise that if they tell somebody about something that they're worried about, they can have help, maybe from an adult, maybe from a friend. Another example of a book we've got on here, Who's in My Family? So that's a book where a family go for a day out at the zoo and they see lots of different types of family. So something that with lots of illustrations, a picture book that can be used with a simple story that has a deeper message. Another book you can see on there, And Tango Makes Three. This book is based on the true story of 2 male penguins in Central Park Zoo, New York, who create a family. 2 male penguins look after an egg and they help the egg hatch, and then they become a family. Tango is the 3rd one in their little family. So there are lots and lots of texts that we use to enhance our curriculum and illustrate some of the concepts for the children to help them understand. On the slide there you can see some further examples of the text that we use across our Key Stage 2 curriculum. We are very passionate about representation, equality and diversity in our curriculum, so we ensure that we choose a range of authors so that the children can see themselves as authors of books, the children can see themselves as characters within books and see real life heroes from their own culture and heritage. For the final part of the presentation, we're going to move on to some questions that we are frequently asked about the RSE curriculum. So the first one is parents will ask if they can withdraw their child from RSE. In primary schools, the relationship and health part of the curriculum are statutory. So your child cannot be withdrawn from the lessons that we teach in primary school. We do not teach sex education in primary school. Another question that is commonly asked is, will my child be taught about LGBT relationships? And the answer is, pupils should be taught about the society in which they are growing up. So the subjects that we teach are designed to foster respect for others and educate pupils about healthy relationships. Teaching children about the society that we live in and the different types of living healthy relationships that exist can be done in a way that respects everyone. And finally, when we begin the PSHE curriculum, the curriculum overview will be available on the website. We will make sure that all staff are fully trained on the updated content before it is delivered. Thank you.